I'm finishing up that Bassman where I wrecked this side. By wreck, I mean I implemented a lot of tone rack ideas. Get to the other channel in the phase inverter in just a minute. As far as the wreck channel goes, there's a lot of mythology about what Ken Fisher did and why and how, and it's all built up to be some larger than life thing. And there's literally a cottage industry of people saying this is what this is what he did in this amp, and it's a mixture of measurements taken from actual amps and what people have done on their own variants and builds. And you got to kind of sort through a lot of stuff to see what he did, why he did it, what was a good idea, and you got to throw some of the mythology out. I will just say that every wire in this amp is entirely suitable for alternating current, and some of you are chuckling at that. Others won't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just kind of sidestep a lot of the mythology and clickbaity kind of arguments. But one of the things he did was he used a lot of different value pots in his tone stacks for various Express and Liverpool and such, and Rocket amps. And so I knew about 10 different approaches he had taken. And I went with one that seemed promising to me, and it didn't quite give the results I wanted. And it was all in the treble response of this channel. And I tried a couple different value pots, a couple different taper pots. I ended up making a modified taper that gives the range of treble and upper mid control that I want. So this thing can go smooth, it can go bright, it can go snarly. I'm pleased with it. You'll get a chance to hear it in a moment. I was using the existing board layout, and I'm very pleased with that. A lot of the most crucial things were keeping links, especially after the kind of insane amounts of amplification in the circuit, keeping those lead links short, steered away from other things, and shielding appropriately and correctly with telescoped shields as necessary. So I was able to use the existing eyelet locations on this old Bassman 50 to do all that, and I'm very pleased with how it came out. You'll get a chance to hear that. Let's move on down to the other channel. Now on this channel, it's pretty much straight AB763, but it did not have a mids pot. And in a lot of Fenders, you just have a 6.8K there. And I didn't want that. That gives the sound of the deluxe reverb. I went for a Pro, a Twin, a Super Reverb, and I used a smaller value resistor there to emulate the mids pot being turned to where I thought it would be very useful for this channel. Other than that, this channel is all stock AB763, non-trim, non-reverb, with the exception that the output cap is only 22 nanofarad because 100 nanofarad was not necessary. That's something they did because, or even the 47 nanofarad. They did that because there was the channel mixing stage next and complications that I don't want to get into. But the 22 nanofarad has more than enough low end, and then the 1 nanofarad input cap to the phase inverter is correct. Everything else here is pretty much AB763 with the exception of the negative feedback and the presence circuit. Yes, I put a presence circuit in this amp. I didn't want to drill another front panel hole. So it is a fixed position presence circuit. It's about like having a standard presence circuit at 10 o'clock. It's what a lot of people end up at. Yeah, it gives enough air to the clean channel that it doesn't sound kind of dull, which is something that can happen with a non-reverb Fender channel. The Fender reverb circuit has a lot of upper harmonics and air and stuff. And this just kind of reintroduces that without making the overall amp bright or hissy. So that gave me control over that, and I experimented with the value of this voltage divider a little bit. I'm happy with where it is. Everything's very neat, and again, steering things where they ought to be. I changed the filter values. When you add a lot more gain, you need sometimes to increase the filtering. Ken certainly did, and I certainly did. Nothing radical. I didn't quite use as much filtering as he did on some similar amps he built because he had a 25 watt or larger resistor in place of a choke, and I had a choke in this amp, which was just fine. And I'm not trying to sound just like one of his amps. I'm trying to implement that level of flexibility. And when you have a resistor instead of a choke, you need additional filtering because a resistor does not remove as much AC ripple as a choke does. So this is all in the spirit of Ken. I don't care about whether it's an exact copy of what he did in any particular amp. He voiced them all differently, and if he were here starting with a Bassman 50 like this, I think he might have ended up in different values than what he did in his from the ground up amps, as I have here. A note on that idea, and this applies to Dumble as well. I think both Dumble and Ken Fisher started the Express and Overdrive specials from Bassmans, maybe Silverface Bassmans, which were cheapest chips back then, but it had that additional gain stage that you could play with, and that additional gain stage in both those designs is in the same place, pretty much. So it makes a lot of sense if both amps derived from modified Bassmans and tweaks that they started out with, just like this. Ken didn't do anything over here for the most part. He just had this channel, which makes sense for what he was trying to do. Just a one amp to rule them all kind of thing. Dumble did the clean thing, and then the overdrive thing, and then later added a separate tone stack just to shape the overdrive independently of the clean. But if you squint your eyes at both circuits and squint your eyes at the, say, AB165 preamp circuit, it's a little bit closer to the AA864 actually, but there's a mitochondrial connection between the three. Anyway, enough theory and opinionating, talking too much. Let's get in and just play it for a bit.